CR101radio.com, podcasts, and more.
37. The Law of the Pack. A heartsick mother went to school to see her son's teacher. She had received a note asking her to come in for a visit with respect to her son. "I was afraid," she told me, "that Eddie was in serious trouble. It is not easy to be both mother and father to children, and I was sick with fear that I had failed." "Has Eddie done something wrong?" she asked anxiously. "It goes a little deeper than that," she was told. "Were his grades bad?" "No, he was still an A student." "What was the trouble then?" Eddie did not relate to his, quote, peer group, end quote. What did this mean? It meant that Eddie spent his spare time reading and studying instead of mixing with his classmates. Eddie did not respond to the things which were popular with his fellow students. He was, in brief, an, quote, isolated, end quote, a social deviant. The mother's fears turned to anger. Her son was a mature, responsible boy. Of junior high age, he was already a very great help to her in the house and in earning money to provide for his clothing. She was proud of his maturity. What was wrong with being too mature for his irresponsible and spoiled classmates? A great deal, she was told. A person must, quote-unquote, relate to reality, and Eddie's, quote, peer group, end quote, his classmates, was the reality he had to relate to for mental health. That teacher was right only at one point. A person must indeed, quote-unquote, relate to reality. The question is, what is that reality? Is it our, quote, peer group, end quote, the pack, mob or crowd around us? Or is it God? Eddie had been taught to relate to God, and he had been taught also that the Bible teaches that "Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil," Exodus 23:2. He knew that his classmates, when not interested in evil, were only interested in nonsense. He felt a responsibility to God and to his mother to follow another course. But if men do not believe in God, they can then only, quote-unquote, relate to other men, to the law of the pack, rather than to the law of God. An educational system which does not affirm the sovereignty of God will affirm the sovereignty of man. It will then seek to, quote, relate, end quote, its students to the reality it upholds, the law of the pack.